All right, in this episode, we talk about what it means to be a knee slammer
and how it's effective, but it can cause injury.
All right, Brent Porcio, we got Adam Garcia and Steve Godini here at the @TopVelocity #Pitch and Tips show, where you go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you ask your question, anything on pitching or anything we do here at Top Velocity, @TopVelocity #Pitch and Tips, and we answer it here on the show. And like I said, I'd like you to subscribe or share this video to keep this going, keep this growing. We're working really hard to get all these questions answered for you. What's the question for today? Cass Kreitlow asks, are there physiological reasons why someone may be a better knee slammer than a triple extender? Yeah, it's a good question. First, I'd like to say if you want to watch my video on drive leg styles, I will link it to this video. It talks about the 3 different drive leg styles: rotational, knee slammer, or triple extender, which obviously triple extension 3X is the approach here. And the question is, is there a physiological reason someone would be a knee slammer? And that's a really good question. I worked with a knee slammer in Major League Baseball, David Ardsman. He was a knee slammer. And the negatives for David was, over time, it eventually tore his adductor in his groin three different times. So it's something, obviously, I don't recommend as a good approach, because what it is it's, like I said, I want you to watch the video, but it's not engaging the lower leg. You're pretty much just moving your hips down the mound, and really putting all of it into your groin as you go into front foot strike, or into slamming into abduction with the drive leg. So the back foot actually would just collapse and stay on the rubber, but you do go in pretty hard, and guys can throw really hard. With another guy who does it, but gets more rotation out of it, is Yordano Ventura. But like I said, my recommendation would be a triple extender as opposed to a knee slammer. Knee slammer is very close to triple extender, you're just not engaging the lower leg. So what would be the physiological reasons? Obviously there's going to be some mobility reasons, and I can speak for the one guy I worked with who had a lot of success with it, David Ardsman, who was through at one time over or at around 100 miles an hour with it, is he has very poor dorsiflexion. So if I have very poor dorsiflexion, meaning I can't bend my foot or flex my foot, then more than likely I'm not going to engage it, because in getting force out of something, we use stretch shortening. We've got to flex and move into extension. So because he can't get a lot of flexion and dorsiflexion, he never probably ever in throwing, he felt like he could get force through the lower leg. So he just learned how to not use it and just slam into abduction and generate his force off the ground, off the back leg drive that way. So yeah, he had a physiological reason why he was a knee slammer. Very, very poor dorsiflexion. David has almost, I mean, this is probably the size of his ankle. It's ginormous, it's gigantic, and that's why it doesn't really flex with him. But to get him into becoming a triple extender, which was our success for him going into this season and getting him in his time in the big leagues this year with the Braves, was that we got him to go into more dorsiflexion. And we even overdid it at one point. We had him wearing strength shoes. So if your guy really struggles with dorsiflexion, strength shoes is a great way to not only get your dorsiflexion to open up, but get you to understand how to use the leg now, because it's forcing you into a lot of dorsiflexion. So that was a good thing for him, except we almost wore his legs out doing it. But that was his physiological reason. I'd say another physiological reason would be someone has poor hip extension, because hip extension is really what is needed to go into rotation, and knee slammers don't really go into a lot of hip rotation. So someone who doesn't have a lot of hip extension, there'll probably be 2 things. There'll be the rotator off the back leg, or there'll be a knee slammer, because actually, tell you the truth, they probably might be more rotational than a knee slammer, but it could they could show up going both ways. But I think the biggest physiological reason is going to come in dorsiflexion, and that's why you would be a knee slammer. If y'all want to throw anything on that at all? I know that's kind of it's a really good question. It's kind of a specific question too. If you know the drive leg styles, if you're watching this video, you have no concept of drive leg styles, you've never heard of it, you need to watch the video. But this might be not something that is that intriguing to you. But what do you have to go with it?
I think a lot of the styles, just like with anything, I think people just have their natural way of doing it. And if like someone creates the velocity that way and that's how they naturally do it, then that's awesome for them. Then there's a lot of people that can naturally do triple extension and that's how they create their velocity. And then there's a lot of guys that are rotational. So you just see a lot of different styles, and I think that's just like how he's getting into the physiological reasons of it can be something mobility wise or something that's holding him back. But I just think however you create velocity, if that's how you do it, that's cool, man.
Yeah, but for example, like Adam's, when he came in here, he was a very rotational guy. He just would rotate off his back leg because he didn't have a lot of power to hit it. But in the 3 weeks that we went from 88 to 93 for him, he learned to extend and drive leg to the point now he's had serious soreness on the back knee and the hamstring because he's never used the leg like that to extend and drive. But it's gave him 5 miles an hour. I will always argue that triple extension, it's the hardest drive leg style, but it's the most beneficial because it increases velocity. And if it doesn't increase velocity, say if you found another way to throw hard with it, then it moves you closer to the hitter. So it increases perceived velocity. The other drive leg styles can't match with it because of that.
And it's the healthiest.
Yeah, it would be the healthiest as well. I don't see any issues with it because it incorporates driving and rotation, and it's pretty much a hybrid of rotational to knee slammer. And it creates a good, healthy delivery. Did you really experience when you went from a rotational guy to a triple extender? Did you really experience the benefits of it? I mean, obviously we saw it in the velocity, but did you like the way it changed your delivery?
I just feel like I'm moving more explosive now, because before when I didn't have any back leg power, it's just really easy. Because I feel like a lot of guys think that pitching is all rotational. It's actually, the way I look at it, it's a linear movement with a rotational complement. So before I would just pick this up and just try to spin it as hard as I can, because that's how I thought. Hip to shoulder separation, you just got to spin this as hard as you can. It wasn't put me in a really long stride, wasn't really get close to the hitter. But then now when I actually triple extend and I get actual drive out of my back leg, I get closer to the hitter.
And you get force.
And I get more force out of my back leg, and it looks even though however hard my fastball is, it looks harder to the hitter because I'm closer to the plate.
Right. But in going from a rotational to a driver, you really should feel a more sense of force moving your trunk. You find guys that rotate on their back legs. You'll see it quickly in the trunk. If you're going to rotate the back leg, you're going to want to rotate to the trunk, unless your front leg is driving. You can make up for it in the front leg. So the point is, you go from a rotational guy to a back leg driver, that's the one thing you're going to feel is more force behind your ball. But if you're a knee slammer going to a triple extender, not much of a difference. It'll just probably be healthier. And one thing is it'll also maybe get you off the rubber, you should look closer to the hitter. That would be the benefits there. All right, that was a good question. If you have any questions, or if you want to learn more about our programs and how we train for velocity with the 3X pitching velocity programs, go check us out at TopVelocity.net. We've got our beginners programs, our extreme program, and we've got our camps, our online camp as well, and a lot there to help you reach your goals in pitching velocity. If you have any questions and you want to get on the show, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at TopVelocity, #pitching tips. Ask your question, and we're going to answer it on the next episode. So.